Hey! So today, guys, I decided to answer a question that I get often. Throughout my DMs, throughout my posts, I get comments and questions saying, like, what trampoline do you have? What trampoline should I get? Where did you get your trampoline? All this mumbo jumbo about trampolines. So today, if you haven't guessed, I'm going to answer those questions. I've been flipping for several years now, and so I know difference between a good trampoline and a bad trampoline. I'm not gonna try to persuade you into getting a trampoline that I have or something, but I'm saying I really like my rectangle trampoline, not so much my circle trampoline. It's still pretty good, but it's not that good. My rectangle is what we call a Trampmaster trampoline. Quite a popular trampoline. I got it off Craigslist for $250, I think, maybe $280 actually. And my circle tramp, that thing's pretty old. It's called a Mastercraft. I'm not sure if the website sells like online, but it was local in my area, so it's kind of what we got first. The Trampmaster is a very good trampoline. I've had it for about 8 months now, and it can throw you up really good. You can get some really good bounce out of it, almost as like an Olympic trampoline. It's great for throwing quads. The mat is pretty tight. I don't know if that's just mine because I haven't had it for that long. And because the mat is tight on the Trampmaster, it kind of makes it so it's more for heavier people. Not like heavier people. I'm literally only like 135, 140, and this thing is perfect for me. This kid I can't remember how much he weighed, but it was crazy. He was like, I think he was like 70, 80 something pounds, and he did triple kaboom NDB on it. I don't know how much you weigh. Sorry, man, if you weigh more than that. Not making any assumptions here. So I'm not going to talk about my circle because I don't really like my circle that much, and it's not a trampoline I would really recommend. In the past, I've seen videos of people saying that the Akon is their preferred trampoline, their #1 rating, but the Akon actually is not very good. The Akon rectangle, and it's very bouncy. Don't get me wrong, but there are so many people on social media who are saying like my Akon is falling apart, which leads me to my next point, is that the Akon is it's not very sturdy. It's not stable. I don't know. I used to want an Akon rectangle super bad because if you know anything about flips or trampolines, you know Akon used to be like the big trend. For how expensive an Akon rectangle is, and for all the net and everything, and how hard it is to set up, and if you're going to put it in ground, that's going to cost a lot. I would not, I mean, maybe if you put it in ground, it'd be more stable. Maybe it wouldn't break as easily, but for how much money you're spending on a trampoline, I would stay away from Akon. So that leads me to my #1 trampoline. Personally, I would say the Alley-Oop. The Alley-Oop rectangle power bounce is my #1 choice. The reason for this, I have bounced on an Alley-Oop once, and it is insane. So my rectangle that I have right here, the Trampmaster, my Trampmaster is very good. It's a close second, but it's not #1. And #1 is the Alley-Oop, because the Alley-Oop, the mat on the trampoline, which is this, not this, these are the pads, the mat, it's not that loose, but it's loose enough so it doesn't hurt. A lot of people, when they come over and they try to go to stomach on my rectangle for the first time, they're like, geez, that hurts. But like Alley-Oop, it's softer, if that makes sense. And another thing that makes Alley-Oop really good is that it has power bounce. It's even in the name. Power bounce is basically a second set of springs. So you have these springs, and then power bounce is springs underneath. I don't have an Alley-Oop, so I'm not an expert on the power bounce aspect, but I can tell you it increases the bounce performance like tremendously. And a cool thing about power bounce is there's different stages. I don't know if I might show you a picture like up here or something, but what it has is there's 3 loops you can put the springs in, the power bounce springs, and so you can either make it tighter or looser, and so that can help with like the weight aspect of people. Like if you don't weigh that much, you go to a certain setting, and then if you weigh more, I think you go up the settings, up the loops, and it makes it tighter or something like that. So that's a cool feature of Alley-Oop. Now the Alley-Oop rectangle is 10 by 17. So with a 10 by 17 frame, that leaves you like quite a lot of mat space. So like it would be good for spins, it would be good for rotation flips, like front flip rotations, back flip rotation, spins, folds. That is why Alley-Oop is my #1 choice. Now my second choice would probably be the Orion, Skybound Orion. It kind of recently came out, and the reason why it's my second choice is because it's like, I don't know, if I could have any trampoline right now, a new trampoline, I'd probably get the Orion instead of this thing. The reason why I like the Orion is because I think it's the first oval trampoline that has been made, and oval trampoline is really cool because that leaves you a lot of room to do spins, and you can also do stuff like kabooms, front flips, back flips, like I said earlier. And honestly, you'll probably feel more comfortable doing spins on it than you would a rectangle. And from what I've heard, because I've never tried one, it is pretty bouncy. It's fairly bouncy. I've seen somebody do standing triple kaboom on it, and that is not easy, even on this thing. I could probably do it on this thing, but an Orion, that's impressive that somebody did it on there. So it's got to be pretty bouncy. Now my last choice is not a trampoline that I would ever get, but it's a trampoline that I kind of like because it's built for its safety aspect, and I hate hitting the springs. It is a spring-free trampoline. So what's cool about spring-free, I'll show you a picture right here, is obviously the springs. You're not vulnerable to the springs. The springs are actually under the mat, meaning you would never hit them. This trampoline has got to be one of the safest trampolines. The reason why one of the cons, I guess I'll say, of spring-free trampoline is that it's actually fairly expensive. And also the balance is not like top-notch. Then again, I've never been on one, but I've heard it's not mediocre. It's probably a little bit above average. So it's not like the best, but it's definitely not the worst. Bounce is not that bad, don't get me wrong, but I haven't been on one. And you would have to try really hard to get hurt on a spring-free. And I think my last point with the alley-oop is that it does have a great enclosure. The net is really, I've heard it's really stable, and on their website they actually talk about their enclosure a lot, their net system. They say the poles are like some metal, I don't know, but it seems pretty legit, guys. Alley-oop is just well-rounded. They've got their facts straight. I've never heard of anybody's alley-oop breaking. I don't think the mat tears very easily. I would put my Trampmaster as a close second, but the only reason why I'm not is because I don't think Trampmaster makes nets. I think they do, but from what I've seen, you do not see many people with Trampmaster nets. And also, I can't put it as a close second because Trampmaster is not in business anymore. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if they just sell locally in Colorado now, because that is where they're mainly based. They have a Trampmaster like warehouse somewhere here in Colorado. Actually, I think when Trampmaster was first made, a lot of people got the trampolines, and it was a while ago, right? Because mine is like 20 years old. So I found mine on Craigslist, and a lot of people who have Trampmasters nowadays, you'll say, yeah, I got it off Craigslist for really cheap. And that's weird, because I think, like, if you go on Craigslist and look up like rectangle trampoline, chances are you might see a Trampmaster on there. So my thinking is that Trampmaster came out at just the right time, that when people bought them, they're starting to put them up for sale now. Because a lot of the Trampmasters that I'll see on Craigslist, they're like really rusty. Their mats, again, the mat is just destroyed. It has a bunch of holes in it. But you can find Trampmasters on Craigslist. You just gotta look. You just gotta stay on Craigslist, keep checking, and you might come across a Trampmaster for a really good price. So those are my choices. I mean, once again, I wouldn't really like a spring-free for myself. I like the Orion. I would love to have an, just stepped in dog poop. I'd love to have an alley-oop rectangle, but I will say if you're looking for a circle trampoline, maybe try Acon Circle. That is something that is made by Acon that is pretty sweet. I've heard it's pretty bouncy, and I haven't really heard of people having problems with the Acon Circle, at least. And things that most people do if you're trying to get the most bounce out of like a circle trampoline, I would never do it with my Trampmaster, just because I do not want to ruin my Trampmaster, because crossing the springs can harm your trampoline, but it also makes it incredibly more bouncy. So if you're looking for bounce and you don't care about your trampoline that much, then again, it's not really that bad. Cross the springs. I do recommend crossing the springs on circle trampolines at least. Or if you have a really loose mat, cross the springs, good as new. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And if you do not agree with my choices, please dislike the video. I would love the great feedback. If you don't like my choices, just dislike the video, leave some hate. But if you did like my choices and you think I made a generally good video, Give it a like, drop a sweet little comment, share with your friends, subscribe. We're gonna make more videos on this channel, more entertaining. Maybe vlogs, but... Oh crap, somebody's here! I don't know, I was about to sign off too. Let's see who... Hey, shut up, mister. Let's see who it is. I think it's Drew, but I don't know. So we're gonna keep the camera low. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come.